and the Macau driver, somebody else that lost ground in the race yesterday, should also be able to fight forward. It's a longer race, of course, today, 12 laps. It was 8 yesterday across all the categories. They've got a bit more time today to plan a strategy.
Am I allowed to say what I'm going to say? Well, I'll just tell you that we're looking at the 66 car of So Yang Hong. And I will say, this particular lineup of cars have an unblotted copybook over the 3 days here at Macau. We have not had an interruption in any of the sessions when they've been out on track, and we could have been worried about them. They were the first out on a green track on Friday morning. No stoppages during that session or during qualifying, or notably during the race itself.
They've been first out every day. Friday
yes,
for free practice, yesterday for the warm-up, today for the first race of day 3.
We did just see number 63, King Veng, and that was the 5th row of the grid. Lo Hiao Fong in car number 29, 68, the car of Chen Da Xing. 42 is on the 7th row of the grid. That's Learn Yap Choi, and Yearn Yap Choi with a wave for the camera. And number 95 alongside on row 7 is Hu Heng.
Who yesterday, late race, was a retirement, wasn't he? The car was off at Lisboa, but I think undamaged, so he's good to go today with...
Seems quite happy.
Yes, indeed.
Smiling away.
Back row of the grid. Learn Chok Noi, who crashed in qualifying, and then Geronimo Badaracco, who was up at the front on the opening race. There he is, but at the end of the opening lap, that car retired with one of the rare mechanical woes of the weekend. And look, Badaracco intending to fire his way forward. So he's what you might call a gun driver here. But Geronimo Badaracco, cries of Geronimo all round. I suspect he has got a real fight on his hands. I'm not suggesting he's going to be a race winner, but could he get onto the podium? 12 laps. It's going to be a big ask, but the pace that he's got would suggest that it's possible.
It's highly possible. He's been quick all weekend and also very keen to get out on circuit. First out of the pit lane, first thing on Friday morning. And Geronimo Badaracco from the back of the grid, the penultimate row of the grid, in fact, row 8, is going to be one to watch. The good news is that his livery pays homage to Valentino Rossi in a way, so you can't miss the car as it's making its way up through the field as the race goes on. There's also a bit of there's a similar font as well, isn't there, on the car to the Doctor. And we didn't talk about the number 81 car, which would have been lining up on the back of the grid, not there on the very back of the grid.
It's not done much all weekend, I'm afraid, that Subaru of Hu Zhou Liang. It's popped and banged its way. Again, it's been a bit of a rarity in a car that's not been very reliable, but it didn't get out for one of the sessions. It only did a lap in another. It's been a troubled car all weekend. As the grid then now takes shape, certainly a man to watch in this is going to be Wan Kar Hong in number 8, 4th on the grid, but he had to start from the pit lane yesterday because he didn't go out in the warm-up session, so forfeited a front row of the grid start and has had to carve his way up from the pit road to 4th, which was a good effort. So now that he's up near the pointy end of the grid, can he take the battle to those front row drivers? Well, there's the pole position man, the dominant driver of the weekend. Wang Wenlong has been fastest in every session, whether it's been free practice, qualifying, effectively the warm-up, because that didn't really count for anything in terms of a lap time, and the race itself, and he got the fastest lap of the race as well. He's the man to beat, no question.
These cars are enduring. I said it in the introduction to giving you the grid, but these cars have lasted. They've stood the test of time as well, haven't they? They are ultra reliable around the gear circuit here at Macau. Looking at the number 25 car on the outside of the front row of the grid, Chan Chi Ha, second step on the podium yesterday, and make no mistake about it, it's very important for these drivers to get on the podium. It's a big thing.
That's livery of the weekend for me, that car.
It's great, isn't it?
Mind-blowing, yes. And you're right about the cars. I mean, they are lasting. And interesting, isn't it? You think Mitsubishi Evo 9, Evo 10 in Europe, and you instantly think of a rally stage. But in this part of the world, they are very, very plentiful in circuit racing terms, and drifting, of course. Spare parts are in plentiful supply, so they keep on going, and they've got a real following, but in a different motorsport discipline. The cars then are going to be, like yesterday, released from a rolling start, hence the 2x2 grid, pole position on the inside for that first left-hander of Reservoir Bend. The grid is being cleared at the 1 minute board. Engines will fire up, and then our opening race of Grand Prix Day here at Macau will be underway. It's a rather overcast morning. It's not quite as warm as it has been for the last couple of days. You can see that the circuit has, or the pit lane approach has one or two damp patches, just a little bit of overnight moisture has fallen. But the road is dry, and a lot of work had to go in at the end of yesterday to make it good, not only to reopen the roads, but also for today, because we had a big accident for Darrell O'Young in the GT race at the end of yesterday. We were running an hour or so behind anyway with an earlier GT accident, but then we had an oil drama. Somebody blew an engine, put oil down. Darrell O'Young caught it, charged the barrier. So even before the roads could be opened last night, the circuit staff were hard at work sorting out barriers in readiness for a very early start today.
They are so hard working all the way around the circuit. There are strategic points around the circuit where we have cranes in operation. They can very quickly, in less than the length of one lap around the circuit, they can lift a car out of harm's way and allow the racing to continue. There are marshals, of course, that have been on post, ready to go from probably about 6:30 this morning. Local time is just coming up to 8:30 in the morning, but you'll see them sitting down by the roadside on their various points around the circuit, and they'll be having their breakfast, getting ready for the day. And as soon as an incident takes place, they're there. They can sweep the track quickly. They can get things ready to go racing so quickly. And you're right, last night they were working hard because the circuit was about to close and the roads were about to open, because these are the streets of Macau. And we're about to see the cars behind the BMW official safety car making their way around the track for their formation lap, the important time that they need to get rubber up to temperature, and being led away by the glorious BMW safety car that we have this weekend.
I won't for that, haven't you?
It's the colour.
Yeah.
I think it was really nice, that car. I have had a BMW in a very dark green colour, and I was a bit nervous about buying it because they say green cars are traditionally, potentially going to be bad luck, and it was one of the best cars I ever had. So I'm over that. I'll be quite happy to have a green car.
You'd like another one? You'd like that one?
I would like that one, yeah. At the moment, it's a bit busy, and it's taking the field around the circuit. As you can see, they are weaving the cars nice and early to get as much heat into the tyres. The very nature of the circuit means that there are certain elements of the track that lend themselves to getting heat into the tyres more than others. This is one that really does. So when they leave the grid, we've got 4 lanes of traffic. You can see 2-way, 2 lanes of traffic in normal road operation. So it's nice and wide. They can get as much purchase on the wheel as they possibly can to get as much heat into the tyres as they can before the circuit begins to tighten up as they go through the right-hander at Lisboa and the right-hander at San Francisco. This is Lisboa, famous hotel here at the right-handed corner, and then a short blast up towards San Francisco and then up San Francisco Hill. This is where weaving is not quite so easy because the circuit all of a sudden closes in on you.
It does indeed. It gets much narrower, much tighter, and it's almost like a different circuit, isn't it? You've gone from that fast, wide open, relatively, expanse of the first 3 corners up towards this tight, twisty, undulating element that takes you up the mountain, as it were, the mountain section. There was one car further back, I noticed, on the way to Lisboa, busily flashing its lights at the traffic ahead. I'm not quite sure whether that was to say stop weaving or go faster, but you can certainly see, look, that we've got 2 waves. There's the first gaggle of cars that takes you to 6th on the grid, Luciano Lamerache, and then there's an enormous gap before anybody else. They're starting to catch up now. There they go.
I think it probably was a speed up, wasn't
it?
Yeah.
Headed by Chu Hufong. But gradually, yes, the order is starting to slot back in with Eurico Jesus there, next in the queue. So the start of this is going to be really intriguing to see whether, after a good run yesterday, Chen Chi-ho can do anything about the pole man, Wang Wenlong. But Wang Ka-hong, 4th on the grid, should have been on the front row yesterday and had to start from the pit lane, as I said, because he missed the warm-up. So we know he's got decent pace as well. Fingers crossed, today, Wang Wenlong is going to have more of a fight on his hands. Having said all of that, he didn't exactly, even though he won the race and it was never headed yesterday, he didn't go storming off into the distance. It took him really until about the 3/4 mark before he really started to significantly build any sort of a gap.
And the gap at the line at the end of race 1, the 8-lap race yesterday, 9.8 seconds for Wang Wenlong. And also with the best lap of the race as well, 2:36.674. And as they make their way up through this mountain section. This is a long left-hander, Donna Maria. And as they get around this corner, and every part of the Macau circuit is challenging, but the mountain section in particular, because walls and barriers, they feel like they close in on you when you get to that part of the circuit. And this is where they are single file throughout the race weekend. No overtaking going through the Macau hairpin for obvious reasons. There isn't the space to get cars side by side. Can you imagine trying to run a race meeting if they were going to overtake going into that corner? No.
No, I think it would be a constant barrage of stoppages, wouldn't it? So
this is where the circuit opens up, and the blast down from Melco through Black Sands come to the right-hander at Fisherman's. It's the 23rd marshal point around the circuit through Fisherman's Bend. It's wide, it's 4 lanes again for normal traffic, and behind the control of the BMW safety car, they'll come up to the final turn, our bend. The BMW will peel off into pit lane, and we'll be going racing over 12 laps for the first race of the day for the 68th running of the Macau Grand Prix. The BMW peels off, and the Win Macau Challenge Cup goes around the final turn to get the racing underway on Grand Prix day. Here we go. It was a win yesterday for number 1 on pole position, Wong Wan Long. What's going to happen today? They come up towards the line, and down go the accelerators. We are in business on race day, and I think it's not surprising that Wong Wan Long, the winner from yesterday, got the perfect start.
One car, though, from the second row of the grid, Wong Kar Hong has got a problem because he was 4th, but he's gone backwards. The car did not get away properly, and so it is in the lead, Wong Wan Long. But in second place, going after him, Chen Chi Ha, as they head down towards Lisboa. 3rd is Delphine Choi, but as I say, Wong Kar Hong, number 8, has fallen a long, long way back in the pack. And Geronimo Badaraco is on his toes as well, trying to gain ground. As there, Delphine Choi looks at the inside, stands on the brakes, car squirms, contact avoided, but all of that plays into the hands of Wong Wan Long. He leads, and he's trying to gap the opposition heading up San Francisco Hill for the first time.
And I'm looking at a similar liveried car from the back of the grid as well. Geronimo Badaraco got a good start. He's made up places already, as you would expect. Let's see how many places he's made up at the completion of lap number 1. So they turn through now this very demanding section of the Macau course for the first time. They're going down towards the left-hander. That's at Teddy Yip. Hospital over on the left-hand side. In fact, there's even a corner called Maternity here at Macau, named after the unit that is next to that part of the circuit at the hospital. And then through the Solitude S's they will go.
Now there, just going out of the shot, was Wong Kar Hong, so he's dropped way, way back. Through goes Badaraco, so he has gained ground. He's up at least 5 places, maybe more. But Wong Kar Hong has dropped himself down to the bottom end of the top 6 as the car there flashes through shot. Race leaders, in the meantime, are working their way now up towards Moorish for the first time. And you can see that we've got, what, the leading 7 or 8 in a queue. And then a gap has opened out behind.
Yes, they certainly have. And I wonder if we're just going to keep on that shot, if we're going to see... No, not quite. I wondered if we were going to see Geronimo Badaraco come into sight. He's had great pace throughout the 3 days, the 2 days thus far, and this day 3 of the Macau Grand Prix in 2021. And he'll be looking at making up those places early on in the race, because, as you rightly say, we've already, on the opening lap, broken away, haven't we? We've got clutches of cars right the way down the order.
A prediction would be 10th, looking at the shot as they came down to the Melco hairpin, so he might be able to gain further ground by the end of the lap, but I reckon he's going to be in the top 10 already. And another prediction would be that Wong Kar Hong has fallen back into 8th place, but hopefully if that car has now picked up pace, he might be able to gain ground, as challenges on there for 3rd place, because to the inside of Choi goes Lamirash. So Luciano Lamirash, that was 6th on the grid, going for 3rd place. He's had a decent first lap as the leaders go by. 1 second between Wong and Chan up front. They, in turn, are getting away from Choi, who is busy fending off Lamirash. The rest of the field come pouring through then as the fight for third. There, Lamirash easily picks his way through on the inside, coming from Reservoir down towards Mandarin.
Superb that, wasn't it? And very neatly done as well. So Luciano Castillo Lamerez carrying good speed, and the number 13 car gets itself into a podium position. Don't forget, it started 6th on the grid, that car. It's now up into 3rd place, neatly going through, neatly getting a bit of a gap as well now into 3rd place, so a gap over the erstwhile 3rd place car. Up the hill they go, San Francisco Hill, into for the 2nd time of asking through the twisty top section of the circuit. This is where they really need to keep every piece of concentration that they can have, because the wall and the guardrail is so close. You can't really have room for any error at all. The speed of Luciano Castillo Lamerez going into the left-hander at Teddy Yip looked to be very, very impressive. And closing up, we've got the, is that the, hang on, let's see, let's identify the car. It's stopped
95, on the, isn't it? Which was the car of yesterday, Wu Heng, I think, that stopped at the spell yesterday. That looks like it from the back.
So, unfortunately, we've got a car which is going to require a bit of help to get away from the main area of the track, and I'm not sure quite how they're going to affect that. So a question mark over what we're going to do down there on that particular part of the circuit. A little bit of a lock-up there for our race leader.
Indeed. Badaracco, by the way, 9th at the end of the opening lap, and the recovering one-car Hong 7th, so they were roundabout where predicted, as down towards the Malco hairpin for the 2nd time in this 12-lapper comes then the leading car, Wang Wanlong, trying to break away, and he is breaking away, but now for 2nd place. Will, I wonder, Chan Chi Ha be caught by an inspired Luciano Lamirash, because the driver in 3rd place, there he is in the white Mitsubishi, hammering along behind this car. 25 is 2nd, then that's Chan Chi Ha. 3rd is Lamirash. Quite a lot of them with little puffs of smoke coming out of the back of these turbocharged engines, but it's kind of a feature of them. You just get used to it and they just soldier on.
Well, I did say there was a little lock-up for the leader. I'm not sure if it was a lock-up or maybe a little puff of smoke. It was doing it all through the race yesterday. I've got terribly excited about these things in previous years, but that's just what they do.
Yes.
It's a feature of the cars, so we don't need to get too worried. So possibly not a lock-up for the race leader. It would be surprising, you know, because he has not put thus far a wheel wrong over the course of 3 days of the Macau Grand Prix in 2021. We're going down towards Lisboa. They may well have managed to get that 95 car out of the way by now. Here's the race leader. It's not, as you say, David, from the race yesterday, hasn't broken away. He had an advantage of just shy of 10 seconds over the rest of the field. Of course, they've got rid of the car, so it's clear track. They do just an amazing job here at Macau of getting things race ready. When a car comes to a stop, maybe it's not quite the same if there is debris to be collected off the circuit. Problem for number 68, that's the car of Chen Da-Xing, and the car gets going, albeit gets going rather slowly. That's the race leader. He seems to have his hands full at the moment, because the 2nd place car, Cha Chin Ha, is right with him.
But we had this yesterday, wasn't it? Slightly elasticated the gap in the first 3 quarters of the race. Certain parts of the lap, the leader would break away, and then at other parts he'd be caught, but then 3/4 mark, so the margin was able to be extended. It might just be that Wang Wanlong is driving within himself, not stressing the machinery, because he knows how hard it is to overtake. As long as he can hang on in there, then he is going to be able to control the pace. But certainly Chen Chi Ha is on a mission, and in turn he is coming under attack from Luciano Lamirash, because in 3rd place Lamirash is trying to bring down that gap as well. So a lot can yet happen. We're on lap 3 out of the 12. It's a 40-minute time slot, so a much longer race today than yesterday, as the cars then swing through Donna Maria. But the way that he's gone all weekend, you would not bet against Wang Wanlong maintaining this great pace. Look, the gap stretched again, you see, on the run down towards the Malco hairpin, whereas now 3rd and 4th it comes down a bit. Delphine Choi closing back onto the tail of Luciano Lamirash. Geronimo Badaracco up into 8th place last time. There he was, just arriving at the hairpin. And Lamirash finds a big bump in the road there. The car skipping its way down towards Black Sands.
And you're looking at the number 17 car attacking on the back of the number 13 car of Luciano Castillo Lamerez. When the number 13 car of Lemerith that we're looking at now got into third place, I rather thought that he was going to pull away.
Yeah.
He seemed to carry good pace, but he hasn't been able to do so, has he? Delphine Choi still right with him. So the two of them together. Windscreen wiper has been like that throughout the race, hasn't it? Sort of halfway up and bouncing around. It's not really causing a problem, but I'm not quite sure it's meant to be in that position. But as far as the car is concerned, it's going well, and now having to defend, because on the twisty mountain section, the 17 car was right on his tail, Delphine Choi, and now they're on the wider expanse of the circuit, and the Delphine Choi car well clear of the number 2 car of Mo Chi Fai.
But that is Badaracco having a lunge on the inside of one car Hong and going through on the inside into Lisboa. So that now puts him up into 7th place. So he's ahead of the man that started 4th. They're both trying to push forward, one after a POC start, another one from a retirement yesterday, putting him at the back of the grid. But Geronimo Badaracco, 16th he started, 7th he runs, and he's not finished yet.
Far from it. He rather looked in the car when the camera was making its way down the grid. He looks as if he was properly fired up for this, didn't he? From the 8th row of the grid, and he's had a very, very nice opening third of the race. That's the number 28 car, started penultimate row of the grid.
And it's got good pace. Again, you know, it's out-qualified some of the cars he's chasing for the original race yesterday. So in theory, if he's got the width of the road through Reservoir, Mandarin down to Lisboa on that section, there are more places to be gained. As here, look, also now, battle is on lower down. Mo Chi Fai coming under attack, number 2, because 18 is right there with him. That is Chu Hu Fong, another of the Mitsubishi drivers. But Badaracco is closing up onto the back all the time, look, of Chu. So the blue Mitsubishi is on the attack, but he's about to have to go defensive.
Yeah, and when Badaracco is making his way through places, to come up across a very close battle like this is perhaps not ideal as they go up towards the Melco hairpin. He goes straight on at Melco hairpin. So Badaracco, he's out of our view at the moment. He's just down the bottom of the screen. And Melco hairpin, it looked like he was going for an overtake going into Melco hairpin. It looked so peculiar because there is no overtaking at Melco, but the car just went straight on. Anything can happen at Macau. It's rather proving itself again and again. That's our race leader. Number 1, Wong Wan Long, the race winner from yesterday, the race leader at the moment, and he's got a goodly gap now over the 2nd place car, the number 25 car of Chan Chi Ha. It's about 3.5 seconds, the distance between the top 2. And we have a white flag being displayed for a slow car on circuit. It's the number 42 car of Leung Yok Choi. And we're back with the race leader, number 1, turning through Lisboa. No pressure from behind, so picking the line, the ideal line through Lisboa. Same too with San Francisco, up the hill, up San Francisco Hill. Now once again into the testing, twisty part of the circuit. But we've now got not a slow car, but a stopped car, the number 42 car of Leung Yok Choi.
So that's going to bring out a yellow flag as through there goes Wong Wan Long, the race leader. 3.4 seconds to the good last time, and continuing to dominate here because he is now getting clear of the chasing Chan Chi Ha. It's only a 10th here, a 10th there, but add it all together and it goes his way, doesn't it? So increasingly secure up front he is, keeping away from the wall, keeping away from the barriers, and the race leader on this 5th out of the 12 laps looking for a 2nd race win of the weekend. And Badaracco, after his dramas down at the Melco hairpin, of course, has fallen back into 12th place, so he's got to do some of that work all over again. Into the yellow flag zone goes the race leader. There is the stranded car, but he's able to negotiate it. And yesterday we had a similar situation with the car for the gear race there, stayed there, covered by a yellow flag.
So race leader then presses on, and that was a little lock up there. We're looking at the number 1 car and really pushing on, coming up towards traffic. That's going to be very much a nature of a longer race. And we just had a little moment there when the camera cut away. It looked as if trying to get through on the approach to the Melco hairpin, but I can't tell you exactly what happened there. All I can tell you is that the number 1 car has managed to get through, and the number 25 car in second place has now, right on his tail, got Luciano Castillo Ramirez. So it's all beginning to close up, and traffic in a 12-lap race is going to play more of a part than it did in an 8-lap race yesterday. Look at this, the battle for second place. 3 cars all contesting that second place on the podium. At the moment, it's Chan Chi-ha on his outside as they go through the final turn on the circuit. The advantage is held in second place by Chan Chi-ha, both of them trying to be second place. Luciano Castillo Ramirez fending off the attentions of Delphine Mendonca Choi, but 3 as 1.
So this then for second, third and fourth, and Ramirez is the man on a mission as he comes then now down towards the fast right of Mandarin. They accelerate now down towards the corner of Lisboa, and on that part of the circuit, so Choi falls away. To the outside line goes Ramirez, and not able to do anything about Chan on the way in, nor can he get the undercut on the way out of the corner. So, second, third and fourth together. Look, Choi back with them through the tight and twisty bits, and there, second place man, Chan Chi-ha, slow going up the hill. Suddenly they all concertina again, completely different from how it was into Lisboa.
The gaps really are waxing and waning on different parts of the circuit, which is maybe slightly surprising because they are all Mitsubishis. They are Evo 10s and Evo 9s that contest the Win Macau Challenge Cup, and there is very little to pick between the 3 of these as they contest the final 2 places on the podium when they're in the mountain section. The advantage, second place being held by Chan Chi-ha, but only just from the number 13 car of Luciano Castillo Ramirez, and in turn Delphine Mendonca Choi just behind. So 3 as 1. Now they're looking, touring cars can make up places on this very tight section of the circuit, but it really is very tricky when they try to do so with the opportunity of that stricken car. The marshals just indicating, yep, slow down, be careful, because they know that that number 42 car is not going anywhere. It stopped, it's Leung Yok Choi's car, and it causes yellow flags to be in evidence as they approach that. So it didn't slow any of these 3 down, did it? As they now come up towards the final sector on the Macau circuit, turning through. Chan Chi-ha in second place, keeping it neat and tidy through the Melco hairpin, heading down through Black Sands, down towards Fisherman's they go, and the completion of 6 laps at the end of this. So they're on the second half of the race, and the leader has an advantage. As we are just seeing on screen at the moment, this battle for second place. A good gap for the race leader, Wang Wanlong. And David, exactly as you recalled from the race yesterday, it's the second half of the race that he really builds and extends the gap at the front.
Yeah, he was able to build that as the race wore on yesterday. It's happening again now. So it's interesting the way that, I said earlier on, he does it by 10th here and 10th there, adds it all together, and now we're up to 6 seconds, the margin, with Geronimo Badaraco in his recovery, having done the fastest lap of the race, intriguingly. So Badaraco is on a mission, but it's all a bit late, really, because he's lost half the race, partly because he was having to work his way through from the back in the first instance, and then because he had that drama at the Melco hairpin and had to do it all over again. So here, down towards the right-hander of Lisboa, comes number 18. That is Chu Hu Fong, who is currently running in 6th place. Through behind goes, in fact he's now up 1 spot, he's up into 5th place now because he's been able to negotiate Mochi 5, so he's gained a spot since he went over the timing line last time through. So the order continues to shuffle a little bit. The one constant in this though is the dominance of Wang Wanlong up front, and Badaraco is still having to try to make some progress forward.
Yeah, and with the fastest lap of the race as well, Badaraco, before that problem up at Melco, a 2:35.446, and that charge from the very back of the grid for Geronimo Badaracco. Fastest lap of the race, 2:35.446, compares to a personal best lap for the race leader of 2:36.856 for Wanwan Long in the number 1 car. Those waved yellows indicating that the number 42 car is over there on the right hand side. They've been past it a number of times now. They know what they've got coming. Just being able to put a bit of daylight in second place to third place now is the 25 car of Chan Chi Ha, but still the gap between these three battling away, waxes and wanes on different parts of the circuit, and from lap to lap as well, up towards the Melco hairpin. You see the LED panel light flashing green, indicating they are now through the no overtaking zone, which is in place throughout the course of the Macau Grand Prix weekend. No overtaking at Melco. Green light says, okay, now you can go for it.
Lamerache has also got some damage, hasn't he, on the bonnet now? The pin has come loose on the right-hand side. Look, you can see it starting to peel up like a tin can almost. So that is on the driver's side, and if more and more air gets under that, it's going to get ever more distorted, and the danger is that ultimately so much air gets in at speed, it rips the other side off, and up goes the bonnet. So Luciano Lamerache then comes through, 7 laps in the book. There you can see what's happening to the car. It's not phasing him, he's hammering on still as ever he was, but in third place now, Luciano Lamerache will be a little bit concerned maybe about that bonnet being able to stay loosely connected to the car at least before the end of the race. Fourth is Delphine Choi still going through there, heading out of Mandarin.
And that does potentially hand a slight advantage to Delphine Mendonca Choi, whose car looks to be absolutely perfect on the run down towards the back of the number 13 car. Not close enough to have a look at taking third place through Lisboa. And I just saw a slippery surface flag being indicated there as well. Now they're climbing up the hill, up San Francisco Hill. The advantage, there is contact between the two of them, and that contact has resulted in rubbing bodywork. You can see the smoke from the back of the car, and third place now in the hands of Delphine Mendonca Choi, but it all got just a little bit too close. That car is really rather beaten up, front and back now.
Yeah, and it's lost pace as well. I think it was losing pace, which is why it slowed and Choi got into the back, because irrespective of the damage, Luciano Lamerache has not been able to fight back, and you can see it's going slower because the bonnet has dropped back down again. So I think it was a mechanical problem that suddenly hit, and then Choi had nowhere to go. More debris on the racetrack there, look, heading through the Solitude S's, but Delphine Choi then up into the top 3. How quickly things can change here. You can see it's knocked a headlight out of the car of Delphine Choi. Yellow flag waving for the next section. But all of a sudden, rather than Lamerache being on a mission to try and catch Chan Chi Ha, he's out of the race. Effectively, Delphine Choi is up to third. It's another place gain for Badaracco and others. But also Choi, having gained a place, has a slightly lighter car with that headlight missing from the front right side. While all this is going on, the lead gap has come down just a little bit, because it's 3 seconds now that Wanwan Long has over Chan Chi Ha. It was slightly greater than that a while back, but it's come down a touch, as there is Chan Chi Ha in second position. He in turn, of course, doesn't have to worry about what's going on behind him. With the demise of Lamerache now, he can concentrate on what's going on ahead and try to bring down that gap yet further to the race leader.
How things change from lap to lap. Just a couple of laps ago, we had 3 cars absolutely tied together, contesting 2 places on the podium. And now we have big gaps between first and second and third as well, and then a big gap back to fourth place. So, yeah, the challenges of the gear circuit here at Macau can change the whole complexion of the race very, very quickly indeed. It's such a demanding, it's such a wonderful circuit for drivers to drive on. They are able to really push every single element of them as a racing driver, in the cars as well. They've got this wonderful open part of the circuit where the cars are extremely fast, whatever car you're in, just extremely quick. And you've got so much circuit to be able to mount your challenge on the run down through Mandarin and then down towards Lisboa as well. And then everything tightens up, and it really does test the car, the driver, everything about the skill that you've had over the course of your career in motor racing. It's just got everything.
Absolutely right. It's got a mystique, it's got a great heritage, and it has that pull year after year after year.
Wonderful atmosphere
it's
as
local
well.
drivers or international drivers, absolutely. So, you're looking at Delphine Choi, third at the moment. Interesting that Geronimo Badaracco, despite the fact that he was going quickly.
He went straight on at Melco hairpin, so
yeah.
it was most peculiar. I'm not really sure why.
What I was about to say was he's not fought back. He's done good lap times, but he's not been able to gain places. So I was slightly puzzled by what's going on, but maybe now he's no longer circulating, I fear.
He's not. He's now... yeah, he's shown us down in 14th place.
But
and
5 laps down.
Yeah, I don't think he is, no.
No. So out of our view, the car, possibly with a brake failure, which is why it went straight on, has stopped. So not a good weekend. A retirement yesterday, very early, starting the second lap of the race for Badaracco, and then another mechanical drama putting him out of today's race, all of which plays into the hands of Wong Wen Long. Now what's going on behind him? Chen Chi-ha is still in second place, in third is Delphine Choi, and then fourth and fifth are here, and it is Chu Hu Fong just ahead of Mo Chi Fai. And again, this is another elasticated gap as the cars turn their way through certain parts of the circuit. As Mo Chi Fai gets closer, certain parts he drops away again.
Well, that was the battle that Badaracco was coming up towards, wasn't it? As we just saw the car disappear at the bottom of your picture on the outside of the Melco hairpin, because it was such an unusual thing to happen, because it looked like he was going to make up a place. He's got a huge amount of experience at Macau. He knows that you can't overtake at the Melco hairpin, but the car just went straight on. So huge disappointment, because up until that point, the car was going brilliantly, wasn't it? It's got the fastest lap of the race and still has.
Yeah, that's the intriguing part. But even though he's got clear road ahead of him, Wong Wen Long hasn't been able to match that time. That said, he doesn't need to get the fastest lap. It's only pride at stake there. He wants to win, and he can win by 1,000th if he so cares. He's 8 seconds to the good again. He's rebuilt the gap. It had come down to 3, then up to 4. Now it's up to 8, as in third place Delphine Choi goes through. Here's the fight for fourth then. Chu Hu Fong is now just 1.6 seconds to the good over Mo Chi Fai. And I can't, in all honesty, see Mo being able to bring down that gap to challenge, because he's not got close enough yet, and he's running out of laps because we've got 3 to go.
Have we really? Goodness me, these laps go quickly, don't they? And once again, the Win Macau Challenge Cup have done a great job of keeping the race going. They've kept every session going. They've just done a brilliant job over all 3 days, and they're not letting us down yet, are they? On lap 10 out of 12, they have been quite superb this weekend. So too has been Wong Wen Long. He continues to lead. We're looking at the battle for 4th place up on the twisty section of the circuit, and they close up in turn. That gap is waxing and waning as well, depending on which part of the circuit they're on, and they can see the back of Delphine Choi's car. And we saw Wong Wen Long, Chen Chi-ha and Delphine Choi, the top 3 on the podium yesterday after 8 laps of contest. It looks like it's going to be the same after 12 laps of contest. That's bad news. Number 13, Luciano Lamero Castillo Lamerez, unfortunately with what is a very second-hand car now, making its way back rather slowly.
Yeah, we'd seen it slow, hadn't we, and then get hit by Choi a lap or 2 back. He's tried to persevere. He was still running in 7th place, but not anymore, because he's, as we've seen, heading for the pit lane. So Eureka de Jesus goes 7th, and up now into 8th place goes So Yang Hong with the Subaru. Back to the pit lane, sadly, Luciano Lamerash out of the race. The leaders plunge downhill through Black Sands, and to the eye, has that gap come down again? It has a little bit. So what's going on here? 8 seconds it was last time, and Wong Wen Long looks like he is being caught again, or has backed off his pace relative to Chen Chi-ha. Just keep an eye on this when they come to the timing line. It might be that he's just ultra cautious on the mountain section, and here feels more confident to really open up the Mitsubishi. So to the timing line he comes, through goes number 1. Race leader Wong Wen Long then puts now 10 laps in the book. That's Lamerash in the pit lane. We wait for Chen Chi-ha to come across the timing line, and maybe I was getting excited over nothing, because it's still a fair old gap, and yeah, it's still hovering around the 8-second mark. It did look less than that to the eye as they came off the mountain course down through Black Sands, though.
They've all done a lap around the 241s. When I say all, the top 4 were all in the 241s, so not personal bests on the anti-penultimate lap. This the penultimate lap.
has Chan in second place got a problem? Because coming towards Lisboa, I just thought I saw the car move towards the inside of the racetrack as though he was keeping off the racing line. So having been closing, possibly, and then the gap getting away, has he now got a problem? Because look, he's fallen completely out of shot. So as we've got a lap and a half to go, is the second place car all of a sudden in strife?
I think you might be right, because the car would have been in the same frame, wouldn't it? And now, all of a sudden, we've just got the solitary race leader. We've got this lap and one more to complete in this 12-lap race.
Was that Delphine Choi that just went through, shot up into second place? So there's number one. Yep, a lap to go, as Alan says, but the question mark is over who is second. We're looking at the leader. We want to look behind and see who has taken second place if Chan Chi-ha does, as we feel, have a problem.
Yeah, that would be terribly disappointing. The car had been going very, very well. It was embroiled in that battle, that three-way battle for second and third places. Don't worry about the waved yellow flags. They've had it pretty much race long for that stricken number 42 car. They're used to it, aren't they?
Yeah.
As they now, that's the just on the little straight which goes between Police and Moorish Corner. Scene of many an incident up at that particular part of this twisty section of the circuit. Down to Donna Maria, the long left-hander, and then onto the Melco hairpin. We've got the 29 car, which has gone straight on, and significantly the 18 car as well. That's Chu Hio Fong.
And there's another one, I think, that might have been ahead of them. I think it was 18 diving to the inside, so trying to get through the traffic. Chu Hio Fong ended up going straight on, and that meant that Lo Hio Fong had nowhere to go. But now Chu Hio Fong has reversed out, stalled it, and can't get going. So there's drama happening up at Moorish. This is the race leader, absolutely out on his own now. Owns the racetrack virtually, because there is nobody around Wang Wenlong to challenge him. And I'm still convinced that things are happening for second place. We've not seen it, but we'll confirm it when they cross the timing line. They come past the window.
Right. I think you're absolutely right. We'll see in a couple of moments. They, of course, the race leader gets the last lap board, and this could be a textbook final lap, really. He's got traffic to deal with, but he can pick his points at which to get past the traffic.
Right, the answer to second and third is it is still Chan Chi-ha ahead of Delphine Choi, but only by half a second. So it's game on with a lap to go for second place. Up into fourth has gone Mo Chi-fai, with the dramas that befell the car of Chu Hio Fong down at Moorish. That's the race leader, but the last lap's going to be all about the fight for second place, I think.
Let's see, the race leader can pick his points to get past the slower traffic, does so, gets past the 63 car on the run into San Francisco. That's King Beng, and that car has gone a lap down to the race leader on his own. We might just see the battle for second place coming up towards that car that needs to go a lap down, 63, King Beng, just ahead of the battle for second place, and that could have a result on these final two podium positions, because they're in the mountain section, they're in the area that's difficult to get past slower traffic. You have to be very, very brave, and you also have to trust the car you're going past.
And the last lap for the race leader was one of his slower ones. He backed off, so the lead gap had come down.
Came down, didn't it? Yeah.
Again, this is Wang Wenlong just making sure that he wins the race. He's got so much on tap, it seems, that if he does feel people are getting a bit close, he can turn up the wick, pull away again, whereas Chan Chi-ha is having to drive flat out to try to repel the challenge of Delphine Choi, and it may not work for him. So close were they starting this last lap. So wriggling through the stricken cars, number one, race leader, Wang Wenlong comes through. The good news is that the road there is clear, because back into the race did go number 18, having had its dramas under braking, and the car in turn is running in fifth place. That of Cho Hio Fong, still in the race, lost one place and a big chunk of time. But what a demonstration this has been yet again. Wang Wenlong set to score victory in the Win Macau Challenge Cup. He has not put a wheel wrong throughout this race, as Delphine Choi is on target seemingly now for second place.
Yeah, and I wonder what happened there. They were coming up towards a slower car. It was the 63 car of King Beng, and now all of a sudden we've got Delphine Choi, number 17, in second place. What of Chan Chi-ha? I rather thought there might be a bit of drama taking place there, getting through past the back marker, but this has been 100% for the number one car this weekend. and it's an absolutely unblemished record. The first checkered flag of Grand Prix Day. Quite right, flash of the headlights for Wong Wan Long. Second place goes to number 17, Delphine Mendonca Choi, and third place, it was a sort out, still is Chin Chi Ha, but not the second place that he had kept for most of the race. So I have a feeling there would have been some kind of story about getting past the slower car, the car of Ng Kim Veng, on that final lap of the race. So, same top three on the podium, not necessarily in the same order. And you're looking at the number 25 car of Chan Chi Ha that just missed out on that final lap. But David, it has been an absolutely unblemished weekend for number one, Wong Wan Long.
Not a wheel wrong was their brilliant drive, and he has been the class act of the weekend. Delphine Choi taking second from Chan Chi Ha. The margin between them on the last lap up to 6 seconds. So Delphine Choi did get through, and I think Chan Chi Ha must have had a problem. He had to give up the unequal struggle of trying to keep Choi at bay, and then fell back. Mo Chi 5-4th, 5th to Chu Hu Fong, and we see him come across the line. 6th should be Wang Ka Hong, who of course started 4th, made that bad start. And again, it makes you think that he had a car that wasn't really doing what it should have done, because he never made progress forward, did he? So that car ending up 6th, but could have been a whole lot better. There is Chen Chi Ha at the end of a busy race for him. He will get to the podium at least for third place. There, Delphine Choi second after finishing third yesterday. So had there been a third race, might have had another chance to go one place higher, but the pattern stops. There, a third and a second. That's where it gets to for Delphine Choi. But they're all going away and have a bit of a think about what they can do for next year to combat the pace of Wong Wan Long, because he has been dominant all weekend. And there you see Delphine Choi's car a little bit battered when he got into the back of Luciano Lamirash, and he's going to come through to take second place and will be all smiles, no doubt, on the podium.
And make no mistake, they will be back next year. These drivers, it's such a privilege to be able to race on their local circuit, the circuit that's only open this year for 3 days of the year, and to be on the podium, well, it's something unique and special. It is also something unique and special to be on the grid and just to be taking part in this quite wonderful event. And these drivers love the cars, they are prides and joys. And can I say something? Would you mind if I said something that I've said before a few times? They have an unblemished record themselves. So throughout the course of 3 days of the Macau Grand Prix, there aren't many championships or series that can say that without the requirement in a 12-lap race for the intervention of a safety car, a red flag, nothing like that. They were able to race carefully with that car that was stricken, the number 42 car, pretty much throughout the entire length of the race. But they've been quite an example to everybody else. That you can race around Macau without requiring intervention from a safety car.
It's good to see, isn't it, that races can keep going?
Yes. Yeah.
If drivers respect the flags, then you don't necessarily need to keep throwing safety cars or stopping races. It's a little bit like the old days. If you look at old, even up to the mid-80s, late 80s footage of Bathurst, and you'd find recovery trucks on the circuit. With a white flag, slow-moving vehicle. You'd round a corner, there was this low loader with a car on the back. But it was part of the way that event was run, and maybe on occasions people are a bit eager to go safety car. You could argue, of course, that if there's any doubt, then there is no doubt. You must neutralise a race, but it does prove that you can keep races going here with the drivers being sensible and adhering to what the flags mean.
Well, that's a double winner at Macau, one on Saturday and one on Sunday. That's Wong Wan Long, about to bring the number 1 car into Parc Fermé.